Well, good afternoon. We got it. Okay, where are we?
There we go. Here we are.
Here we are, Gene. Again, Gene. What is this with this power hour? Hundreds of them. So,
I know.
okay. I'll introduce myself and then my brother. We're doing a power hour from Native Wellness Institute on positive sexuality. Woohoo! So Nistu Nidanako Makoyo Sakoi. It's my second Blackfoot name. I'm coming to you from Blackfeet Confederacy territory in Montana. And I'm working with a group of kids that are 9th grade to 12th grade and their chaperones. And we just had a healthy dialogue on laughing on healthy sexuality. I'm part of Native Wellness Institute's team of trainers, consultants, developers, and then I'm part of the board that works with our executive director, Jillian Joseph. So who are you, Gene?
Hey, everybody. It's great to be here. My name is Gene Tagaban. My Slinket name is Gayao. I'm of the Duckdainton clan, the Raven Freshwater Sockeye clan from Hoona, Alaska, Chowdava Wishkatan, Eagle Short clan from Aquani, Juneau, Alaska. I'm Cherokee, Tlingit, Filipino. My last name is Tagaban. In the Philippines, it's pronounced as Tagaban. My mama, she's full-blood Cherokee, and she's of the Wolf clan on that side, and she's from J. Oklahoma, raised in Xena. It's great to be here. Right now, I am on territory, the land of the Squaxin peoples here in the Pacific Northwest, the territories of the Coast Salish peoples here. And we got our neighbors, we got Nisqually and Squamish, our neighbors in this area here. And it's really good to be here. I'm actually doing a training here in Squaxin in the community, working with their youth leadership crew, who's going to be working with the younger ones here today on just a variety of things on wellness and health. And so it's really good to be here talking about Native Wellness Institute on healthy sexuality. It's good. And I just want to say too, this is part of the power hours that we got together to do the power hours because of our the response to the pandemic. You know, we knew that traumatized people would be re-traumatized during this time, and so we've done like over 400 power hours now, and we're going to continue on every Wednesday. And so here we are today with Theda, New Breast, and myself.
Awesome. Thank you, Gene. Thank you. We intentionally are doing this from a female perspective because I identify my pronouns are she, her, and badass. And then, Gene, what kind of pronouns do you like?
My pronouns are he, him, and it's getting to be that old guy. Holy Jesus, handsome old guy, you know, and but he and him, you know, and we'll be coming from that perspective too. And we definitely want to respect our LGBTQ relatives out there as well, you know, and we acknowledge you, and, you know, and we'll have to do a whole power hour on healthy sexuality from that perspective sometime, eh? That'd be a good power hour.
We welcome all of you, no matter how you identify. And we welcome, because in some of our territories, I'm coming to you from Sixaketapi, to the Blackfoot Confederacy. And I heard one of our elders say that as many stars in the sky is how many interpretations you have of gender. And I know that we have a lot of Indian guys that change poop diapers, and we have a lot of women who hunt and rebuild cars. And so there's kind of a blurry line on, anyway, just some of the responsibilities. So Gene and I, this is part 2. We started part 1 on positive sexuality because we're going to have our first in-person healing gathering at Bainbridge.
Theda, I got a question.
In September. Excuse me, Richard, were you talking? Oh, okay. We'll ask everyone to stay on mute unless we ask you to unmute. Just because.
Shut up. Just Mute.
Okay.
Please just shut up. I don't care. Fuck you.
Thank you. It's good to see you, Richard. But Jean and I we're asking you to come join us. Native Wellness Institute is having.
Shut up.
We're having registration for our first in-person healing gathering at Bainbridge, around September 27th. You'll be seeing the poster very soon. And so one of the topics that has come up over the years, and we actually have a training called Healthy Relationships, leading the next generations. And chapter 7 is around healthy sexuality. But Jean and I we wanted to start from a female perspective and a male perspective. And then anyone who's on the Zoom, any of our LGBTQ or transgender or two-spirit, we're actually gonna start with some quizzes. Because I mean, but let me just say this. I think that healing and healthy sexuality is paramount. It's paramount not only for women to find freedom, not only for women to self-actualize, but it also will intervene and stop missing and murdered. It'll stop suicides. It just stops all of some of the ugly things. And so we decided to start speaking an open dialogue around healthy sexuality. And I'll just I'll tell a story, and then I'm going to pass it to my brother, because we're doing from our point of view. I was in the fourth grade, and I think when I was in Berkeley, California, and Berkeley, California was in liberation and civil rights. And I remember we had a lesson plan in the fourth grade that was called "This is Your Life and Life's Lessons." And I remember us writing in our little journals and drawing pictures, and they told us how a baby was made. And I just thought it was fascinating. It was because there was a uterus, and then there was these beautiful fallopian tubes, and then there was a vagina canal, and then they showed in the fallopian tubes there was just these beautiful miracle eggs that could become a human being. And then they showed the anatomy of the female and the man, and it was just so cool because they showed the man had a penis, and it had a scrotum and a prostate, and it had how sperm was made. And it was kind of cool because you're in the fourth grade. And I'm just going, wow, because you see this little sperm swimming along, just like woohoo, woohoo, I'm gonna find me an egg, woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. And then over here there's an egg that's kind of inside the uterus, and so whole bunch, there's like thousands of sperm, boom, boom, boom. They're all like competitive. They're like woo, 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 and they're looking for the egg. And there's one lucky spiritual magic sperm, and it gets into the egg. And guess what? That's how a human being is born. And so I was so excited about it because I had seen animals. I was raised with horses and dogs and chickens and stuff like that. But I didn't quite, in the fourth grade, I didn't quite understand how all of us were made. And that was the beginning of my healthy sexuality. And I was so excited. I'm the oldest child, is that I ran home and got out a tablet of paper, and I started drawing it for my sister Kathy, Wanda, Lori, and Ira. So they were like, what? And I go, no, you have to know this. This is how we're made. And so I was drawing the fallopian tubes, drawing the, and so they're like sitting there going, ew, really? Ew. And ew, So that was how some of my education in healthy sexuality began. Jean, tell us the story of how yours began.
Oh, about healthy sexuality. That's interesting. I remember in school too. They brought that.
Jean, I just have a question.
and so we're gonna ask questions a little bit later.
Which what are your pronouns?
But he and him. And so, but pronouns are he and him, Gene Tagaban. But anyways, my education on healthy sexuality is, sure, we had it in school, but it wasn't really talked about. Again, it was like, just like Theda said, they might have had it like more of an animation, you know, and the same thing with the sperm, and then the grand prize was to get to the egg, you know, and the sperm, the picture of the sperm was always, they had it as like this your masculine, muscular sperm going to this the princess, you know, of the egg, and reaching the princess, you know. And so it's like so they had it always like that. And then later on, you know, a baby is born, a child is born, and you know, the development of the cells from one cell to the next, to the next, to the next. I remember those things, but a lot of my sexuality and was learned through the discussion of those older than me in the area, in the room, relatives, uncles, you know, from the men, and also going to school, you know, the older generations, or just like side talk with, you know, just because we're just curious. But also too is like that education, nobody really sat down and talked to me about it. And so it was like through, but I found a stash of my dad's Playboys, you know, or Penthouse, and found that stash and started getting curious, started looking through it, started reading it, and just going, whoa, what is this? And just reading the stories in it, and just thinking that whole twisted way to see sex and sexuality, and seeing that. And that was actually my introduction to sexuality, was learning how to objectify women. Because all those books, everything that talked about it, even the men around in my circles, so I grew up with, it was all about the objectification of women, about using women. You know, it's like growing up too. It's like I was expected to be like, I lost my virginity by 10 years old. You know, everyone's bragging about this or that. I mean, we're just kids. You know, I didn't know anything. You know, even lied about, oh yeah, we did this and we did that just to fit in, you know. And I still see that today, and in the circles today. It's like, where are our youth, where are our people learning about sex and healthy sexuality? And oftentimes it's online or the internet, whatever. And again, it's like that shows about the objectification from man's perspective, the objectification of women. And using that. So that's why we got on here, to talk about sex and healthy sexuality, and are the myths around it, whatever. We only got an hour here, so we can only go, you know, talk about so much of it too, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's a little bit of my education, how I learned about it too, you know, about sex and sexuality, you know. And I'm still learning about it, and at times too, still uncomfortable about talking about it, still, you know. And so even the more I do it, the more comfortable I become, you know. And so there's this, you know, just, yeah.
Oh, thank you, Gene. Thank you. So we invite you, you know, in the chat, or any comments. As Gene said, that we have 40 minutes, and so we'd like to actually present some stuff, and then our healthy relationship curriculum, we have a quiz. And so we thought it would be just a beginning, and we use this, you know, in Australia, New Zealand, Canada. It's like to start out to see where we are with our knowledge around sexuality. And but before I do that, you know, one of the I'm just going to read and we'll, you know, you can put this in the chat, or we'll it's about sexual attitudes. Okay, so sex abuse mindset versus healthy sexuality attitude mindset. So sexual abuse mindset thinks that sex is an uncontrollable energy. Healthy sexuality attitude is that sex is a controllable, disciplined energy. Sexual abuse mindset is that sex is an obligation. And from a female's perspective, I worked with so many women and currently working with women who still fall into it's an obligation and it's not fun and they're not having an orgasm, etc. Whereas healthy sexuality attitude mindset is that sex is a choice. Sexual abuse mindset is that sex is addictive. Hey, Tiffany, stay on screen. Is addictive, and in a healthy sexuality attitude mindset is that sex is a natural drive. Sexual abuse mindset is that sex is a condition for receiving love. In a healthy sexuality attitude is sex is an expression of love. So I'm just going to read a couple of those because we really, sometimes we have to talk about the behavior. So I don't know, Jean, you want to, should we start with the male sexuality quiz question 1? Do you want me to read it? Or you got yours? You want to read it? Wait, you gotta, we can't hear you, Jean.
Yeah, I think I got it right here. And so I'll read some of these questions, that are in the healthy relationship manual that we teach. And one thing I do want to touch on, last time we talked about this, there was a young lady who got on here and she said, I really appreciate you talking about this because through her whole marriage, she just felt like that obligation of just of giving herself, even when she didn't want to, in her marriage. And she always felt like she was an object in her marriage, and so it's like, what is love? What is healthy sexuality? What is that expression of love and affection and intimacy in a healthy way,
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to read these questions here and see what your thoughts are.
No, they should put true or false. True or false.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 1 here. 60% of married men has had an extramarital affair. True or false? 64% of married men have had an extramarital affair. True or false?
True. Let's let it. Okay. Thank you, Richard. Anyone else? Tiffany, what do you say as you're chewing your sandwich? I don't know, but I'm ready. Okay. Okay, so
it's false. False. 64% of men have had an extramarital affair, and that's false. Question number 2 here is problems with erections are most often started with a physical problem. True or false?
True.
True. Somebody said true. No. W. Trish Olson. No. False is falses. And the answer is true. Problems with erections are most often started by physical problems. The average length of an erect penis is 7 inches. True or false?
False.
False, yeah. And again, that whole stereotype with men and this, with men, it's like it's got to be, how much are you packing? 90% of the men. Let me see. Most men have a testicle hanging lower than the other. Most men have a testicle hanging lower than the other. True or false?
True. Sure.
Yeah, that one is true.
Mm-hmm.
94% of the men have masturbated.
True.
True or false?
True.
Yes, that one is true too. Let me see here. Most women prefer a sexual partner with a larger than average penis.
True.
Most women prefer a sexual partner with a larger or average penis. And after the survey said that one is false.
Okay. So Jean, what we do is we do a couple of questions and then we have dialogue. Okay. So from a woman's perspective, I grew up hearing say, It's not the size of the boat, it's the motion of the ocean. It's not the size of the boat, it's the motion of the ocean. And so it's kind of interesting because, you know, I think about that in terms of if we're just thinking about penetration. But I think from a woman's perspective, one of the healthy sexuality things that we can do from a very early age is learn from other Native women where your clitoris is. Learn what your clitoris does. Learn what your erogenous parts of your body are, because for some women, you know, it might be the breast. Some women, it might be their mind. It's that they have to be, their foreplay is with the mind, with soft, gentle talk, with good music, with caressing, with telling good stories, hearing what they do right, hearing that they're always just beautiful and they're gorgeous just as they are. All of those are kind of the foreplay to having an orgasm and to having that, like Jean, like you said. And from a woman's perspective, and you know, I'm not gonna tell you how many notches I have on my bed, eh? I'm not gonna do, but I will tell you this: at 66 years old, the best lovemaking is with someone who loves you and you love them. And it's just an intimacy, it's a spiritual intimacy where you can just appreciate each other and accept each other's body and accept each other's thoughts and accept each other's how you are. And that kind of lovemaking, and I only 66 years, you know, living on this earth, man, is the best. So that's kind of my opinion. What do you think? What do you think, Gene?
You know, my thoughts on that too is like, you know, and you said the motion of the ocean, you know, and just is that's what counts. And oftentimes, my discussion with men is like being aggressive, like just going full out, and you know, and they really, a lot of the men don't pay attention, aren't paying attention to their partners. It's all about them getting to having a climax, having their own orgasm, you know, and or getting off, and not really paying to the subtleties of what your partner is looking for or asking for. And having this discussion with other men, um, it's it's come down to, like, a lot of men, there's a lot of fear behind it because not really knowing how to have healthy sex, loving sex, to make love, not really knowing how to address the emotions of your partner, to talk, to caress, to feel, because oftentimes the men, we haven't felt that. And there's oftentimes where we want that, we strive for that, and to learn, but we haven't taken the time to to step into that, and learn about that ourselves, about who we are as men, as human beings, because something may be the hurt, the harm, or the traumas, whatever that is, but nobody sat down and talked to us or taught us about just to really actually even connect with our emotions. You know, and first of all, it's like, how do men talk about their emotions? They don't want to talk about their emotions. Most of them, their emotions that they know are just anger or frustration or aggressive, that they express it through aggression and that. But so a lot of the men who I've talked to, even I'm at 58 years old, and learning more and keep learning about sex and sexuality and how to please your partner, of just that gentleness about, and even learning that how much fear I had
Mm-hmm.
learning and being with a partner. Almost
Mm-hmm.
an expectation that I should know what to do, but you know, and pretending I knew what to do. But actually, it was more than just insert, you know, having intercourse and boom, 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 wham, thank you, I'm going to sleep. There's so much more to it than just that.
I
You
know.
know, you're there with your partner, and just to hug, to caress, and to feel, you know, to feel that humanness. You know, as I heard a relative, you know, the sister talk about that. It's, you know, the art of lovemaking and all that, and our traditional way, it's ceremony, because it's there to, like, you create another human being. that possibility there with that, and so that's my thoughts on it too. Is like, man, we just need to learn, who are we as emotional beings? Who are we, to learn about that and to really to think about that, because that was shut down at a very young age. Being an emotional at a very, very young age, even in grade school, when we were that, just no, it's all about academics, learn, turn on your mind and this and that. But to address, like, when a child is crying, a young boy is crying, we say, hey, man, don't cry, don't cry. We're suppressing those emotions. We're suppressing those emotions.
Yeah.
And making love and sex, is all about that healthiness is all about expression of emotions.
Mm-hmm. And thank you, Gene, because one of a beautiful word that I just love when it comes to healthy sexuality is nurturing, gentle. I think they even they may have songs. I want a man with a slow hand. There's songs like that, that it's gentle, that it's there's tenderness to it. And so from a female point of view, we like the tenderness of the foreplay. And like it's sexy when you're doing the dishes. It's sexy when you're vacuuming. It's sexy when you fix the plumbing. It's sexy when you chop the wood. It's sexy when you fix something around the house. It's all of those. When you see your man nurturing you, taking care of your nest, taking care of you, those kind of things, the love is stronger. And for women, we just love to be tender. We love to have gentle, and sometimes we like it fast, eh? But we like it all kinds of ways. And there's exploration, there's the nurturing. But one of the I just say right now, like, and I don't want to out my life partner or anything or say what he does best, but Gene, why don't we let's see this group, let's call out a couple of on that male sexuality quiz. Let's just call out a couple of them and give them time to answer true or false. Which ones do you want to call out, Gene?
Oh, with the questions?
Yes.
Let me see here. Let me take a look here. Here's a pretty good one here.
Yeah.
Like, so circumcised men suffer from premature ejaculation more. Circumcised men suffer from premature ejaculation more. True or false? False. Yeah, anybody else? False. Yes, it is false.
Yeah.
And I like this question. I like this question too. Circumcision is an act of sailing around the world. True or false?
Sorry.
I mean, it's a real question. I mean, it's like people like, I mean, I mean, we can laugh about it now, but it's a lot of people, they don't know.
Right.
And I
was just thinking, because I was born in 1956, and our colonization process, if you're in Canada, is we just kept our boys natural. And it wasn't until we had an outside colonization process in which they told us that this was the way it was done. It was more hygienic and it was more clean. And so sometimes, in healthy sexuality, I even, the men that aren't circumcised. And so from a female point of view, because, when you're just enjoying each other, I think it's really sexy to have that foreskin over it before it gets very large. I just like it where it's like covered up and there's gentle kisses and there's just gentle caressing, and then it kind of sneaks out. I mean, I just, for some reason, that's just really sexy. And I just love to make, my partner tingle, and to my partner just to enjoy that part where I don't know, it's kind of like magic, so I like that. But then sometimes, I think too, when I see the circumcision, I think, oh, so this is just second generation colonized, eh? Anyway, that's my thought. What do you think, Gene?
Well, it's interesting too. I mean, as a young kid growing up, and just always wondering too. It's like, as a young kid growing up, seeing each other like in the locker room. I mean, you can't help but notice each other and see circumcised penis or uncircumcised penis. I mean, the questions are again, just there's that fear. Am I okay? Because nobody talked to me about it. Am I okay? Should I be like that? Or there's something wrong here? Because majority of the those who I grew up with, they were circumcised. So those ones uncircumcised, I mean, I'm circumcised, and I'm like wondering, it's like, what were their thoughts too? It's like, because we're always comparing ourselves to each other as men, what it looks like, the size of it, the girth of things too. It's like there's that comparison too, because that's the fragility of our male masculinity too. We're always, there's that that comparison of things.
Mm-hmm. And too, so then in healthy sexuality, like body image and what is because I just remember listening to talking circles of men, and this one Indian man said, what looks good and what feels good are often two different things. And and so I always think, about that English word, and I don't know the Blackfoot word is for voluptuous, being voluptuous and being sexy and being desirable, that is for two, partners, either same sex or two partners, heterosexual or bisexual, or I just think that the healthy sexuality is when you can accept and just love each other's body as it is. But that image, like a part of the colonization when I grew up, and this is just the colonization, is they would buy us Barbie dolls that looked like they were blonde and they were skinny, and their color of skin was, and I was just a little girl, and they bought me a doll like that, and I threw it away because it didn't look like me. So just think about a beautiful, voluptuous, sexual, brown Indian woman, or high yellow brown Indian woman, that just, and that, even the size, that size thing where, they objectify with, having big boobs. I was recently in California and I never saw so many boob jobs in my whole damn life. It's like, so when I came back, and then I think around the humor of it, because our friend Cecilia Fire Thunder, she'd always say, oh yeah, a good Indian woman, her bra size is size 54 cup A. Then I used to think about, like Harold Belmont, he used to say, them Indian women, they have buffalo hips and antelope legs, like, hey, that's kind of like me. I got buffalo hips. I got some buffalo hips and some antelope legs. So let's maybe, Gene, tell us from a male's perspective, what is, because, we like our Indian men, but we don't like to have to lift up the roll, to see their belt buckle, eh? Anyway. What do you
that's interesting when it comes to body image too, especially as I'm aging and I'm becoming just learning more as well, and the acceptance of my own body, the acceptance of my own image of who I am, and just that acceptance of it, and as I age, and that growing together with my partner, my wife Ruby, growing together and aging each other, and starting to appreciate those the fineness and the touch, and we're both like starting to get a little soft here and there and stuff like that. But I remember back in when I was younger, man, it was like that whole thing is like you had to work out, had to be strong, had to be tough, had to be fit, had to have the six pack and all, and this and that. And even the image of the perfect woman was like like you said, the Barbie, the skinny, thin, But it's like, but it's like it's a myth. It's a myth that we start to believe because it's out there. And even with those who, as Indian people, who are those who have been colonized, and colonization has affected us, that systems and societies places the white bodied as the measurement of what is acceptable. What is acceptable, out there, wherever we go, and that's the measure of it. And so we've, as we take a look at that, we measure ourselves against that, with that, as opposed to the acceptance of who we are as people, as Indian people, of who we are, and just that love and that acceptance of that, and I've had to learn about that too myself, because I've been influenced by all that outside influence too. And so, especially as I'm growing older, with Ruby, my partner, just that acceptance of who we are, just to be able to hold each other and to touch each other, and that I mean, the intimacy is so much deeper and accepted and appreciated, and there's just words that I can't even explain that the intimacy there that we have, of just like and that is healthy sexuality as well, and again, it's for men, to accept ourselves. But at the same time, I got to tell you guys, men, we got to take care of ourselves. We can't be drinking all that soda, sitting there eating all that chips and stuff like that, because our partners, they don't want to lift up that roll, and they, and find out that what do you got here and things like that. We got to take care of ourselves too, because our Indian women, they want us to take care of ourselves. Plus, we got to raise the life expectancy of men. Our men out there too. So we got to take care of ourselves, and as I, and I got to take care of myself too, because my Ruby appreciates that. She appreciates that stuff, Yeah, she don't want me coming in there and my hair's all raggedy and stuff like that. She picked me up this morning. I got to listen to that more. I got to listen to myself talking that. I got to listen to it. She's probably listening right here. She's going to text me pretty soon. And you go, now, let me tell you, you better, like, you're talking about this online, but you better start doing it instead of just talking about it.
You look gorgeous. You look handsome, Gene, and the gray is pretty cool. But what you were talking about, because that sexual abuse mindset is that sex is void of communication. A healthy sexuality attitude is that sex requires communication. And, from the very beginning, to when you start your sexual career, because it's a sacred ceremony for women. And from a woman's perspective, the first time that you do it is just so special. It's like something, to allow, the ceremony to allow someone in you or someone to know you at that level, even at a naked level, is just such a precious, precious ceremony. And I just can't, I was just thinking, it's like, maybe we should just smudge up everybody's body parts. mean, like take the sweet grass and the sage, and take the lavender, and take all of the good smelling stuff, and just because you're olfactory, what you smell. I mean, we have chemistry where we're attracted to certain people's smell. And I always thought about that, because I think that's a spiritual thing. I think that Creator puts us on earth, and when we can smell that person and we enjoy making love to them and we enjoy that smell, man, there's something really just beautiful about it, Gene. I say from the female perspective, but men, clean up. One of the things women would always say in our talking circles, like if they broke up with a guy, they'll say, "Oh, good, I don't have to wash any more skid marks in his shorts." I mean, so I always think, why do you got skid marks in there? What are those brown things in your shorts? And then you're
walking around with that all day long. Ooh.
Well, there was Marcus Red Thunder. We were with the group just last week, and there old Indian lady and the old Indian man they went into the IHS, and the IHS said, "Well, we need a urine sample and we need a poop sample." And they were saying what they needed, and the old Indian lady just told her husband, "Give him your shorts." All of the samples are in there. Anyway, this communication, about what feels good, about what sounds good, and experimenting. One of the things from the female perspective, and even as we get older, I mean, it's not like we have to be hanging off the rafters, but it's hard to hang off the rafters.
Especially as we get older.
I think that as we get older, it's a blessing to make love. It's a blessing to feel desired. It's a blessing to reciprocate, and that you both have orgasms, multiple if you can. That those kinds of things are just very important as you get older, and there isn't that just that, it's almost like spiritually devoid, that wham bam, thank you ma'am, or people will say, "Oh yeah, he was doing his business," or whatever, that kind of stuff. We're way beyond that, and that's why we're inviting you, because Gene and I know a few things, but sometimes we're kind of Neanderthals.
Yeah.
Our DNA is part Neanderthal, but we just wanted to start the dialogue. So what you thinking, Gene?
Oh, I'm thinking too, is like with men, just we have to learn how to communicate, how to speak and communicate, and that intimacy. Plus, but the thing is, we too as men want to be desired. We too as men want to be accepted. We want to be, we want to feel. We want that, as men. But oftentimes as men, we won't say it out loud or express it, because we think that maybe it's like we're showing a weakness, or we're not being men. What is it to be a man? And so we don't express those things, but we want that. We want to be respected. We want to be honored. We want to be held, and in that way, we want to be even like just, sometimes we, as men, we don't want to be the strong one all the time. Sometimes we just want a lap to place our head on, or shoulder just to place our head on. So that's what we need, as men, and it's okay. It's and again, to be able. The thing is, but our partners won't know unless we tell them. And we gotta practice with that conversation of just like, what is it that you like? What is it that you like? What is it that you need? What can I do for you? Or reciprocate, do for each other, and learn together, because I know there's insecurities on both your parts, the man and the females, because again, that expectation, we're supposed to be know how to do things and what to do and how to have sex, how to make love and this and that, how to be intimate. But the thing is, we're both insecure about it. Even if you've been together for years, there's still those things that you haven't talked about or discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And so just accept that, the fears, the insecurities about it, and learn together. Learn together.
I really like that. Learn together. So I'm just going to read some healthy sexual attitudes, okay? Because I had to put these all down, and we'll either post these on our Facebook, Instagram, or we can put both of the quizzes, not the answer, Shannon, in the chat. But just listen to this, because I look at this sometimes, and because I strive to have a loving relationship. So it says, sex is private, sex is respectful, sex is honest, sex is mutual, sex is intimate, sex is responsible, sex is safe, sex has boundaries, sex is empowering, sex is an expression of love. And I'm just gonna kind of, as we're winding down, Jean, with 10 minutes to go, Jean and I, we in our team at Native Wellness Institute, we want to start the dialogue. And I think I just really just invite you, because all of especially during this pandemic, the Zoom one-on-ones or the therapy that I've been because I work with a lot of women who are addicted to drugs and alcohol and decide to stop doing drugs and alcohol. And one of the deepest healing issues is, that while they were doing drugs and alcohol, they are often sexually assaulted and they are raped. And we're only as sick as our secrets. And so it's about being in a safe space where we can tell what happened to at least some safe people. And we can go through the feelings and have forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness. I deal a lot with women who think that they may have caused it. And they're told, it's how they dressed, it's how they were inviting. They're told these kind of things, like to make it their fault. And so I just wanted to say, what we need to do is start the dialogue so that everybody can heal. And for those of us who are farther down because I was sexually assaulted. I'm not going to go into it, but continually I go through waves, and I was sexually assaulted by a medicine man. And that's rough stuff. I saw your wrinkle on your nose, Tiffany. But I was just thinking, the greatest forgiveness for me happened during Sundance. Like on the third day when you had no food and water, and I began to pray for that perpetrator. And I had the forgiveness. So it isn't because you could sense it in some of our women. There's still an anger, and we see it with missing and murdered. We're reactive, and we be mean to each other. So we're asking you to start the dialogue so we can do the healing. I always Jolene, I mean, we all say it, but I just like it when Jolene is kind of like at our helm, our executive director. And no matter what we're saying, Jolene will just say, well, healing is the answer. She'll just say, like, healing is the answer, and then, so we're all like saying, we're around healthy sexuality, storytelling, listening, asking questions, having your emotional IQ tested. That's what we need to do. And that's what on this power hour. So this is part 2. We may be doing 3, 4, 5, because next time we'll do the female sexuality quiz. So what you thinking, Jean, is what are some of your closing comments?
My thoughts on that too is that you were talking about the assault of women too, that I just want to acknowledge that men too have the sexual assault of men as well. And and just acknowledge that the hurt that's there and how it affects men as well. Mm-hmm. And how do we heal How do we heal? And to have that healing is to start the conversation. Like what we're doing here now is we're having the conversation, you know, and I'll be honest with you. Am I I'm learning. I'm starting to get, am I comfortable with this conversation? Yes and no. But I'm having the conversations. I'm willing to have the conversation so that healing can happen. And the conversation with men, talking with men, having conversations with men too, and men working with men to heal, and having real authentic conversations about sex, sexuality, intimacy with a partner, intimacy with themselves. You know, what is intimacy? And then have that conversation, the real conversation with those your family, your kids, you know, and how the trauma has been passed on, you know, because our men, didn't learn how to be healthy men, healthy role models, sexuality, because again, the reality of the boarding schools that was going on, that happened to our people and never taught, you know, because they got away from the family. And not only that, but the stories that were there, because our people, we told stories around it. Raven, coyote, you know, and deer woman, loon woman, you know, and the storytelling around it, because it was an accepted way of teaching about sex and teaching about sexuality, you know, and to take those on, because we need to educate our people. Because if we don't educate them, and our own people, and especially our kids, they will educate themselves, because the internet is so accessible with anything. So if you're not talking to them, if we're not talking to our own people out there, that the porn industry, the internet industry, all that stuff will talk to them. So who do you want to be talking to them and teaching them about sex, sexuality, intimacy, healthy relationships?
No, thank you, Gene. And we just again, our every Wednesday Native Wellness Institute. You can see all of our power hours on YouTube. Just put in Native Wellness Institute. But every Wednesday, we're going to be coming here and we're going to be advertising the healing topics that will be at our Native Wellness Institute gathering in Bainbridge in September. And so Gene and I are talking about, you know, Gene, this felt pretty good, but there's still more to share.
Yep.
And so we didn't even pull out that female sexuality quiz. And it was put together by some two spirit brothers and myself. So it will maybe on our next part 3. But you know, I just close with the short story, and then if you want to also, you know, I talked about working on the Rocky Boy Reservation, and one of our elders, we lost her during COVID, Teresa Tindoy. And this was like 1995. I remember, and I just loved her because she's like one of the elders, like when they pray, they cry. They just cry, then they go through the tears, but she said she remembers being that little girl and that visual, you know, being in a lodge, being in a teepee. And she said it was a women's lodge. And she remembers being a little girl, and there was, you know, older girls, there was mothers, there was grandmothers, and they were just openly talking about that at that time, how to please your husband without getting pregnant. And so this, you know, think of that, you know, in the 1800s, and the reason they were doing it was because they wanted to space the children 2 years apart, because they needed to be breastfed, they needed to be nurtured, they needed to start becoming, you know, they needed to be at least 2 years old before the next baby came. And so I think about that too, because a lot of the Indian women that you know, in my sessions, they have some babies that are 11 months apart, 10 months apart. But she said in there, they were just having an open dialogue, and it was all in Cree. It was no English. And that was just an atmosphere of safe, healthy sexuality where you learned as a little girl, and nothing was nasty. Nothing was dirty. Nothing was bad. And you aren't bad. And so I just kind of, so I just, if you could see our power hour as we're all sitting in a circle and we're just starting the dialogue. And so we invite you to the next one. And I just really enjoyed this. So Kitakito Matsuno. So what are you thinking, Gene, before we head out?
I'm thinking the same thing, Theda, is that this discussion, I'm really enjoying the discussion and we're just getting into it, and then we got to end, the discussion and because there's so many more questions. And the questions, and I want you to think about as we talk about sexuality, healthy sexuality, courtship, and orgasms, and all that stuff. What questions do you have? What are those questions that you have and you're asking? Because as there's nothing's, like Thea said, nothing's nasty, nothing's dirty or this and that. Just like those questions. All of your questions are valid. They're good questions, but to ask the question, what are those questions that you have? Even at 58 years old, going to be 60 soon, as I'm aging too, I'm still asking, what are those questions? I'm still asking. I did this thing today, and I asked, I was asking the youth today, is like, what are those attributes of a mentor that you have in your life? And one of the things that were on there, the top words that really stuck out was safe. Safe. And that's what healthy sexuality is, and intimacy is. It's like, how can we stay with the partners that we're at? How can we just, how is it that, so that our women they can walk this world in a safe way, in a safe place? And honor our women, and I'm speaking from a man perspective, honor our women, and that honorable honoring of them. And that word safe comes to mind. And so that's all I have to end for right now. I just want to thank all of you for hanging in there with us as we're having this discussion. Thank you so much for hanging in there and being present to this.
And so on behalf of Native Wellness Institute, we're winding down with our Wednesday Wellness Power Hour. And so we just really appreciate you. And I just really like looking at Tiffany the whole time. Because we're bringing in a Zoom, so you can come on and Zoom, because we're not alone in any of this. We're not by ourselves in any of this. And with the collectiveness of healing, we're just inviting you to be with us on, this is a root cause of trauma. This is a root cause of a lot of distrust. And so we just want to reverse it. Safe place, just like what you said, Gene, just creating safety. So we'll be signing off. And thank you, Shannon, for taking care of us. Thank you, Shannon. We love you. And thank you all that were taking the self-care training. Just really good to see Steve and to see Tish and to see others. So we just Kitakito Matsuno, and we can sign off, Shannon.